Hello, friends. Welcome to Build for Scale, where enterprise tech meets business growth. My name is Loveth Wachuku. I am your host. I help enterprises build secure and scalable IT infrastructure. Today's discussion is defense in depth in cybersecurity. You see, most of our enterprises are on this table. Cybersecurity spending increases year on year. We have organizations deploy modern and more security tools like firewalls, endpoint security, and all that. Yet, breaches still happen. Yet, attacks still happen, which leaves a deep concern. Is cybersecurity failing because we lack these tools or because the security architecture itself lacks depth? My guest today is Ugochukwu Okorie, who is a technology trusted advisor. Thank you for joining, Ugochukwu.
Thank you, Loveth, for having me today. It's nice to be here with you.
Thank you. You look good, by the way.
Thank you. You too, you look good.
Thank you. So let's go straight into discussion. There's this assumption that improving security is all about product upgrade. All right, say you buy the next generation firewall, you implement MFA, you're fine. However, I've seen in enterprise breaches that the issue isn't the absence of these security tools or these products.
Absolutely.
All right?
Absolutely.
Because enterprises deploy dozens of technologies across their digital environments. Let's look at the average enterprise digital environment, okay, where users are remote, devices connect from anywhere, workloads are in the cloud. In this environment, all right, relying on a single layer of defense is unrealistic. Look at security today, all right? It is not about one control protecting everything. It's about multiple layers of protection working together, which is where the concept of defense in depth comes in.
Absolutely.
From your perspective, what does defense in depth mean in an enterprise cybersecurity context?
Actually, you did a fantastic work in introduction. I believe you have already answered the question why you are trying to introduce the topic, because you mentioned something that organizations should not rely on a single layer of security to protect the organization. All right, so they should rely on multiple layers of security. Now, security is not all about spending heavily on tools. All right, because I could tell you that there are organizations who have state-of-the-art security tools they are using to protect the environment.
Yeah.
And there's something that you also said that breaches still happen. But I want to just put a caveat there. You know that there is no single security tool that can actually prevent breaches from happening. So it's all about strategy.
Sure.
So that is where defense in depth comes in. All right. So defense in depth basically means not relying on a single security layer to protect your organization. So you have to have multi-layer of security tools, multi-layer of security controls to be able to prevent attacks from happening. All right. So let me give you an instance from your home, the normal home that everybody live in. You see, people would have fences guarding their compound. They'll have the security gate. They have a security guard posted there. Probably they also have a dog inside the house. They have CCTV cameras. They have sensors that would detect movement. All these things are layers of security. So does it mean that the fence is not enough to prevent people from coming in? Yes, people can eventually step into the compound and they will breach that layer of security.
Sure.
The security guard may not really be at the security post at that particular time when the events happen, or they can even overpower him. Then the dog may not even be able to safeguard you. So these are the layers of security that if the attacker happens to breach the first layer, there is a second layer. And if he happens to breach the second layer, there's also a third layer. So the concept of defense in depth strategy is not to actually prevent breaches. The strategy is to make it very, very difficult for attackers to be able to, cause a deeper form of harm to the organization. So before they will be able to get to, cause a deeper type of harm, they will be able to be detected. People will be able to detect them. The experts will be able to detect them. The security tools that you have will be able to detect them and mitigate the whatever the problem is. So that is the strategy of security in depth. Not just because you want to prevent the
Attackers
from entering. It also means you want to make their work very difficult, because in this era of AI, these
True.
guys have become very, very good in what they are doing.
Yeah.
Because the more you're building new security tools, the more they are studying your inventions, and they will also build something that will be able to counter your inventions. So what is the security in-depth strategy going to do for you? It will help to slow them down while you'll be able to discover them early and mitigate the issue.
Okay. So we are saying that controls have to work together, not in silos.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, let's take things a bit further.
Okay.
If we accept that no single control can stop every attack,
Yes.
then we have to build or design our security architecture in a way that assumes that threats or attack will come in. How should organizations think about structuring layered defenses across identity, endpoints, networks, and applications so that the system remains resilient?
Security should be approached in such a way that you identify the very critical entry points to your environment, right? The very critical areas that matters in your environment. One of the most important layer right now, where the threat actors are really, causing a lot of issues on, is the identity area. So the identity area, because there's been a lot of identity theft. For instance, you could see somebody, a staff who does not really have good information on cybersecurity, would receive an email, and the person will be thinking that this email is from the IT support team.
Yeah.
And they'll be requested to change their password, or maybe put in their username and password. And once they put in their username and password,
It takes it from there.
It takes their identity from there. Then the threat actors would use that identity. So when you're trying to build your environment, you should build it in domains or in layers. Now, those domains you mentioned are very critical, from the identity to the endpoint. Now, let me take it from the identity. The identity is to ensure that the right people are having access to your environment. Who can have access to what? So you don't just allow anybody to have access to your environment. Now, okay, so, but then if let's assume I made an instance of a staff who mistakenly gave out his username and password. So if the strategy there was built correctly, you see that the organization will have what we call the multi-factor authentication. So if that is in place, you discover that even though that the threat actor has stolen the identity of the user, when they want to log into the environment, it will request for another layer of authentication, which they may not be able to provide. That helps to mitigate that issue. Now, so identity is a very important area that when you want to design your identity protection, you would be able to put things like the multi-factor authentication, and that would help you to mitigate issues when it happens. And also there are some other identity-based solution that has gone deeper to not just look at the username and a password or multi-factor authentication. They go granular to look at context. They do context-based monitoring, in the sense that it's not just a user assessing. It also look at what hour of the day are you assessing the environment.
Location and devices also comes in.
Yes, location, devices, the hour matters. Let me give you an instance. Behavior of a user is also taken into consideration. You can imagine a front desk receptionist or a front desk person who tries to log into the organization 12 midnight, and of course she does not have any business logging into organization assets 12 midnight, because her work is supposed to be from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. in quotes, depending on the organization. But a support engineer can log in at any time of the hour of the day, because there could be an event that require him to log in and quickly support whatever the issue is. So when you have the right identity solution, and that can do a context-based, that is context aware, all right. So when somebody like the front desk I mentioned, logs in by 12 midnight, it's an anomaly.
Yeah.
Yes, it triggers
To
an
pick
anomaly.
it, yeah.
It will pick it up because this is unusual activity. So it's possible that this person's username and password has been stolen by a threat actor, and they can only act when they think people have left their devices. The security experts, they are no longer monitoring. They have taken their eyes away from the system. Then you can imagine, okay, coming from the IT support person, when he logs in by 12 midnight, still the same organization, still the same security tool. However, because this person user behavior is different, he logs in by 12 midnight. It's not going to be an anomaly because he's a support engineer. His profile
Sure.
shows he's a support engineer. He can do that. But when an anomaly will be flagged is when he begins to try to have access to, assets that he's not supposed to have access to. Assets like, financial documents.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any business having access to financial documents.
Or top level information.
Yes, top level information. Then that becomes an anomaly. So you find out that when you build your security and you build it with the right tool, with the right strategy, then it will help you to really secure your environment. So that is from the identity level.
I have a question for
all right,
identity.
please.
So identity is now the new perimeter, is now the new security focus, because technology evolution has made location not to be the trusted, what's the word I'll use now, the trusted security focus. You know how before now, most organizations, and even now, most organizations, you cannot access core IT infrastructure when you are not in the building. That's where they say location is the perimeter.
Yes.
All right. But now it is identity. So my take now is, should we train our system to understand that even original identity can be compromised? Example,
Absolutely.
yours, say somebody takes your username and password without your knowledge and tries to access core infrastructure. Should we train our system to understand that even identities can be compromised, and when it is compromised, ask several questions?
Absolutely.
Example, let me give you an instance. I can take your credentials. However, my location is not the location you usually log in from, number one. Number two, the device differs. All right. So what are those things that we need to put in place in order to train our systems to think this way or act this way?
Since the inception of machine learning and artificial intelligence, so this platform has become so intelligent to understand user behaviors.
Okay.
Do you understand? So you may not really go in and configure something. Of course, every user have their profile, all right? But also remember that since the inception of COVID, you can work from anywhere.
Yeah, sure.
So that's the reason why organizations, there are some organizations that have not been able to thrive post-COVID because of the strategy they are using. Some organizations had to change their strategy entirely so that they'll be able to have people work from anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, so user behavior analytics is the key thing. So when you have a security solution that uses machine learning to understand user behavior, so what it does is that it would look at the profile of the user and it will look at your behavior, learn your behavior, create a baseline. And whenever there is a behavior that is outside that baseline it has created for you, then it is an anomaly. Now, that anomaly could be a natural thing. Let me put it this way. Let's say I use an instance of a front desk.
Okay.
Probably there is an event in the organization, just the way organizations have end of the year party, and this user is within the organization and can log in at that hour of the time just to make sure that things happen effectively. Or maybe the person is still within the environment and has to allow people come in or move out. Maybe there's something like that. So in such case, yes, an anomaly can be flagged.
Okay.
However, it can also learn at the same time that, okay, if it happens for the first time, happens for the next time, yearly thing, a period of time, you can also learn that, okay, it's actually a behavior of this user. That's just an instance. Now, what I'm trying to put out there is the fact that most of these security tools come with machine learning that learn that learn user behaviors. All right. Then look at the location part. Let me show you another way these tools work. That's what we call Superman effect. Have you heard of Superman
Yeah,
effect?
Superman effect.
So the Superman effect is a situation whereby you see somebody logs in, a user logs in from Ikorodu in Nigeria. Let's say 5:55 p.m. Same user logs in from Mexico, 5:56 p.m. Of course, it's going to balance the what's it called? It's going to balance the time zones and everything. It will understand because it's an AI platform, a machine learning platform. It will understand that the distance between Ikorodu in Nigeria and Mexico is very wide apart, that it can only take a Superman to travel at that speed to get to Mexico
and back to
Ikorodu and log into the same system. Is an anomaly. Do you understand? So answering your question, should organization configure their systems to be able to detect all these things? Already, some of these systems come with machine learning capabilities, artificial intelligence capabilities. All you now need to know is when you're trying to purchase some of these solutions, you look at what capabilities these solutions come with, so that you to be able to help you to mitigate some of these advanced type of threats.
Let's look at enterprise environments again.
Okay.
These guys, they have several layers of control. All right. They have the VPN, they have the identity control, they have monitoring systems, they have cloud security tools and other security tools, all operating at the same time. You see, this level of controls operate at the same time, and they still get breached. Okay. So my question now, that attack is not really catastrophic. Why it is catastrophic? It's actually because the attacker spent a long time in the system before being detected.
Yes.
You get?
You're right.
Now, my question now is, with enterprise that have multiple layers of control and still gets breached. Now, my question to you is the issue less about the security tools we have, all right, and more about the architectural integration of these controls?
Yeah, you are right. It's about the architectural integration of this control system. So the problem is not the security tools the organizations are investing on. In fact, some of them are investing on state-of-the-art security tools, very costly, very advanced security tools. But the problem is strategy. It's not just about the tools.
True.
In fact, when you have a strategy, that would also help to that would help your budgeting.
Yeah.
Because when you have the right strategy, you would understand the right tools to buy, and will also know how you go about securing your environment. Now, the problem that organizations are having is when you have a defense in depth breached. I will not call it defense in depth because it has not gotten there yet.
Yeah.
They have several tools that are working in silos. So these tools are working individually. All right. They are not working in synergy. They are not exchanging data. They are not exchanging intelligence. All right. So there is no accurate detection. That you cannot easily drill down to root causes. You don't have I call it a single source of truth. You should be able to have a single source of truth.
Yeah.
What that helps you to do is because you can begin to see the storyline of events when it happens.
From where it started
and
how it's progressed.
Yeah. So you can imagine, let me give you this instance. So there's a security breach that started from the email. So a user happens to click there's a mail that came in, phishing event that happened, and identity was lost, and the threat actor gained access into the environment, and now he begins to move around, lateral movement, have access to this, have access to that, make these changes, make that changes. All right. So if you have individual security solution that are not communicating with each other, the security solution that is in charge of the identity that is in charge of securing identity of the organization would see it that there is a breach, all right, and or maybe there is a user who has gained access, at an odd hour, it's going to be just a siloed event that you're going to see.
Yeah.
At the same time, you see your network securities noticing some, unusual traffic happening, unusual downloads, unusual upload. Then your devices, your endpoint is seeing another thing entirely.
Yeah.
The individual team managing these platforms will see it as individual threat happening, and they try to treat it individually.
Okay.
However, they don't understand, they may not be able to understand that it's still the same actor
Yeah.
who is doing all this. But when you have a platform, a system, a strategy that is able to correlate this event, then you begin to understand that this is actually the same threat actor. This is actually the same threat. And this, when you get access from this entry point, it has affected this system, that system, that system. Then you will not be able to, you will not be able to do your security in the right way. So what am I trying to say in essence? What I'm trying to say in essence is that the security tools are supposed to be able to work in synergy. There should be a platform that will be able to, detect all the events. There should be a platform that you can ingest all the security events into, that would help you to correlate the activities going on with your environment, so that you can begin to look at this event from different lenses.
Yeah,
the lens that can show you, security intelligence of what is going on. You understand that this is a malware, and then you understand that this is where it gained access to. You will understand that these are the assets that it has gain access to, and and that platform should also be able to have some form of automation to respond. All right, so that it doesn't take you so much time to respond when such activities happen. Take, for instance, you have an XDR platform, which is an extended detection and response action. So when you have such platform and you detect an activity like that, so the platform will be able to isolate the device from your network, and give instruction to the EDR to quarantine
and
treat. And once it sees the threat is treated, of course, whenever a device is compromised, the risk score of that device increases.
Yeah, true.
It becomes abnormal. So once the threat is treated, the risk score gets to normal. All right. So once the XDR platform gets to see that the risk score of this device has come to normal, it reintegrates that device back to the network.
Okay.
All right. So you discover that cannot be possible if these devices are working individually.
Yeah,
so
true.
there has to be a synergy, and that can make them exchange intelligence and be able to detect and respond automatically.
Now that you've mentioned detection and response, most organizations or enterprises, they focus more on preventive controls or preventive controls or measures, because they feel that they just want to focus on the perimeters. They don't want an attack inside. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now, but you as a technology trusted advisor, you have investigated several breaches, and you will agree with me that the issue is not always that an attack got in. The issue is how long it took the organization to detect the intruder. Like I said earlier, attacks are not really catastrophic. It becomes catastrophic when the attacker stays in the system and moves between systems in that network for a long time without being detected. Now, in a mature defense in-depth strategy, would you say detective and response capability is as important as preventive control?
Absolutely. You're right with that. So the reason being that there is no tool that can prevent every threat. No single tool that can prevent every threat. Remember what I said from the beginning, the reason for the defense in depth is to slow down the pace at which the threat actors would use to compromise your environment. Yes, they can eventually have access to your environment, but while they have breached the first layer, before they can breach the second layer, you'll be able to detect them. All right. So, but was there a preventive measure that they breached? Yes, there was a preventive measure put in place, but it was breached.
Yeah.
So that's to tell you that detection and response is as important as preventive. So I've seen a client where they had a challenge with their M365 platform.
Okay.
All right. So, and then when I asked them questions on what security measures they have in place, they said that they have a firewall. Of course, it's a intrusion preventive system.
That's one everybody has.
Yeah. So, and I said, okay, what else do you have? They said that they have a multi-factor authentication that would check their whatever username and password and give them another third layer of authenticating to their systems, and those are preventive measures.
Yeah.
But these guys were compromised. Their accounts were deleted.
Wow.
Yes, in fact, it took them engaging Microsoft before they were able to reinstate their accounts and everything. So you discover that all preventive measures were broken. So, but if they had an architecture that included detection and response, they would have been able to detect the event when it happened, and they'll be able to respond immediately. So if it's a global admin account that was breached, they would have been able to detect that the global admin has been breached, and they'll be able to, at that particular time, block the activities of that user.
Yeah.
So that they can be able to, investigate and resolve whatever the issue is. So detection and response is as important as preventive, because once the preventive measures are breached, then you have your detection that will be able to detect that it has been breached.
Yeah.
Then you have your response that would respond accordingly. Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. Let us digress. Let's talk about OEMs.
Okay.
These guys are really important. You see, in this technology industry, OEMs are very important to us.
Yes.
So, where do OEMs play in defense in depth? Should organizations see them as partners that will help design and build a resilient network, or just mere device manufacturers? What role do they play?
Yes, they should be trusted advisors. All right, they should be their trusted advisors. It's not just about selling the product. It's also seeing the success of your customers. All right, so they should be able to, handhold them to ensure that they are getting the return on investment on their whatever technology they have purchased from them. So the OEM should play a very, very vital role. Of course, you know that the OEM, there are various OEMs out there.
Yes.
All right. So, and they would have, I'm sure that they already have, and some of them have every single tool necessary in a defense in depth strategy. One OEM can actually give you all the tools that you need.
Yeah,
yes,
true.
Yeah.
But the issue with OEMs is that most like using different OEMs together, your controls at times act in silos and not integrate.
So that's the point where I'm coming to. When you have a mixed environment is where you have different, you have a different OEM as your intrusion prevention, that's your firewall. You have another OEM as a different OEM for your EDS. EDR, I mean to say, you have a different OEM for your email security, you have a different OEM for your cloud security and stuff like that. So OEM products should be able to have, make it possible for them to be able to exchange intelligence with other OEMs. All right, that's that handshake, that's that synergy. There are platforms that are vendor agnostic.
Yeah.
There are platforms that are not vendor agnostic. They are proprietary. So they don't really integrate with other vendors. It's only their ecosystem. All right. They just integrate with tools, security tools within their own ecosystem. All right. So, but there are other OEMs that are now vendor agnostic. What they do now is that they understand that gap where there needs to be a central platform where all security intelligence generated within your environment are ingested into, then so that you can be able to make the right decisions at the right time. So those vendor agnostic OEMs helps to bridge the gap that other OEMs have created. But this is what I believe, that OEMs should be able to be trusted advisors. You should be able to notice the capabilities, the extent of the capabilities that your security tools should be able to provide, and know how to advise your clients how to go about, ensuring that the next layers that your capabilities that your platform is not actually providing, you should be able to handle it in certain ways. So I'm trying not to be specific, so that I'm not here to demarket any OEM or to promote any OEM. But I think from my own experience with the OEM, this is what I believe should happen. And I see some OEMs trying to now begin to, bridge that gap.
Yeah, because the truth is, for me, I think OEMs should be seen as a trusted partner.
Yes.
All right, that will hold the hands of the organization through their cybersecurity journey. Cybersecurity is a journey. It's not a one-day thing. It's not about buying the next generation firewall. It's about having a strategy. It's about having an architectural design of what you want to achieve. It's in phases. Implementing defense in depth or even zero trust can be overwhelming, especially when you're working with strict timelines or a strict budget or resources.
Yes.
Now, look at enterprises. Enterprises may have a structured team. All right. Say large enterprises, they may have a structured team with resources and everything. The mid-size enterprise, they may have budget issues.
Yes.
The small enterprise or the startups, they may have constraints around skill sets. All right.
Yes.
Now, let me read my next question to you. From your perspective, how should CIOs, CTOs, and technology leaders across startups, mid-sized companies, and large enterprises approach defense in depth in a way that is both practical and scalable?
Okay, that's a very important question to ask, because when you get it right, you would also manage your budgeting and also know what to invest on. All right, so how should they approach this? That's the question. So strategy is the key.
Yeah.
All right, so you need to first of all understand what assets your organizations have, and then you also understand what are the critical, look at the risk your organization has, you understand, and know how to protect them. What are the critical assets? Those critical assets should be protected first. All right. So when you do a thorough assessment of your environment, then you begin to have a strategy on how to go about, getting the right tools and achieving a defense in depth, strategy. Because if you just go in and they said, because you just hear that I need a firewall, I need an EDR, these are the buzzwords in the cybersecurity space. So you just go by the trend of the buzzwords. So you eventually end up, buying all manner of tools, and you still have the same issues that you'll be having, or what you are trying to prevent is happening. All right. Yeah. So, but when you look into your environment and understand your critical assets and have a strategy on protecting those critical assets, and understand the tools that you're going to buy, and also make an in-depth research on the tools.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
That's necessary.
Yes, very necessary. Not just having the, there are ones that are very costly. There are ones that are affordable, depending on the structure of your organization, depending on the financial capability of your organization. The large organizations can go for the very costly ones, and they'll be able to handle the budgeting. The medium organizations sometimes may not be able to afford to buy some of these security tools. They go for a managed kind of services,
Yeah.
managed security services that will be able to help them to pay a recurring fee,
Yeah.
while a trusted advisor would help them to now protect the right thing that they have. But in any way, anyhow that you want to go, it's all about strategy. Because if you don't have a strategy, then you would end up investing on the wrong thing. You would end up not protecting the right things, and you end up spending a huge amount of money protecting something. In fact, this is what I have in my own understanding about investing in security solution. There's no how I can, when I look at the asset I want to protect, and the asset is asset worth $1 million, and I want to protect a $1 million asset with a $5 million security device, it doesn't make sense.
Sure.
You understand? It doesn't make sense. That's the reason why the security leaders out there, organization leaders out there should understand, what they are protecting. When they have that, they understand the vision of the organization, where is the organization going to, understand the budgeting of the organization, then that would inform them on how to go about in their security budgeting. All right, that would inform them on what to invest on and what not to invest on, and that would help them build a holistic strategy on how to approach their security program.
Thank you. How would they say it? Clock it, right? That was some point. So let me add this and probably conclude with it. Defense in-depth reminds us that cybersecurity should not rely on one single control. Cybersecurity is all about designing multiple layers of protection that work together. No single control can stop every attack. As an enterprise, as an organization, when designing your security infrastructure or your security architecture, design with the expectation that an attack will get in. The test now is what happens when the attack gets in. If an attack gets in, but is unable to penetrate systems, no damage will be done. Let me say this. The goal of cybersecurity is not to eliminate risk. Don't be afraid. Don't put all your eggs into creating preventive controls and forget about detective and response controls. No, don't. The goal of cybersecurity is to reduce exposure and build resilience into the system. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Build for Scale. To my amazing and intellectual guest, Ugochukwu Okore, thank you for your contributions. They were insightful and educative. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So if this conversation was valuable to you, please subscribe, like, leave a review or a comment, and share with a CIO, a CTO, an IT leader, or a founder who is serious about building secure and scalable systems. Until next time, build intentionally and scale securely. Bye-bye.